The reason you're currently stuck in a cycle of mediocrity, watching your trading account bleed out like 1,000 paper cuts, isn't because you don't have a good strategy. It isn't because the market is rigged, and it isn't because you lack intelligence. It's because you are addicted to a biological lie. You are a dopamine junkie masquerading as a trader, and until you learn to celebrate the very thing that makes you want to vomit, the losing trade, you will never, ever be part of the elite 5% who actually extract wealth from these markets. If you want to change your life, you have to stop trying to be right and start learning how to be a professional loser. Let's talk about the biological glitch that is currently destroying your future. You were born with a brain that was designed for one thing: keeping you alive on the African savanna 50,000 years ago. In that environment, pain meant death. If a predator bit you, that pain was a signal to run. If you found a bush full of sweet berries, that dopamine hit was a signal to eat as much as possible. Fast forward to the modern day, and you are trying to use that same ancient hardware to navigate a digital environment where the rules are completely inverted. In the wilderness, avoiding pain keeps you alive. In the markets, avoiding the pain of a loss is exactly what kills your account. Think about the last time you were in a winning trade. You saw the green numbers ticking up. Your heart rate increased, your palms got a little sweaty, and you felt a surge of pride. That wasn't logic. That was a hit of neurochemical reward. You felt like a genius. You started thinking about what you could buy with that money. And because you wanted to protect that good feeling, you probably closed the trade way too early, long before it reached your actual target. You traded your long-term wealth for a 3-second hit of dopamine. You essentially sold your future for a hit of mental crack. Now, think about the last time you were in a loser. The price hit your entry and immediately went against you. You felt a pit in your stomach. That's the amygdala, the lizard brain, screaming at you that you're in danger. Because your brain views a financial loss as a literal threat to your survival, it will do anything to avoid realizing that pain. So what do? You move your stop loss. You tell yourself it's just a shakeout. You look for news articles that support your original bias. You pray to a god you haven't spoken to in years. You hold that loser until it's so big that it paralyzes you. You just did the exact opposite of what a professional does. You cut your flowers and watered your weeds, all because you're a slave to your own chemistry. The 95% of traders who fail are all running the same average human software. They reward themselves when they win and punish themselves when they lose. It sounds logical, right? In every other area of life, we are taught that winning is good and losing is bad. If you win a race, you get a trophy. If you fail a test, you get a lecture. But trading is a distorted reality. In this world, you can do everything wrong, break every rule, gamble your entire account, ignore every signal, and still make money because of pure, dumb luck. If you celebrate that win, you are literally training your brain to be a degenerate gambler. You are reinforcing the very behavior that will eventually lead to your total financial annihilation. The professional trader, the person who actually moves the needle, the person who lives the life you want, has performed a manual override on their biology. They have moved past the primitive need to be right. To them, a winning trade and a losing trade are both just data points. They don't get a high from the green and they don't get a low from the red. Their only source of pride, their only trophy, is the quality of their execution. They have learned to celebrate the process, even when the outcome is a loss. If you want to join them, you have to start doing things that would make an ordinary person think you've lost your mind. You have to start treating a discipline loss like a massive victory. I want you to imagine a scenario. You see a setup that fits your plan perfectly. You calculate your risk. You set your stop loss. You enter the trade. The market immediately reverses and stops you out for a $2,000 loss. An amateur would close their laptop, feel depressed for 3 days, and question their entire existence. But the professional? They see that loss, they realize they followed their plan to the letter, and they go out and treat themselves to the most expensive dinner in town. They celebrate that loss. Not because they like losing money, but because they just successfully navigated a psychological minefield. They didn't move their stop. They didn't panic. They didn't revenge trade. They acted like a professional, and that behavior is worth more than any single winning trade. You need to understand that your brain is a learning machine, but it's a stupid one. It doesn't understand your bank statement. It only understands what feels good and what feels bad. If you feel bad every time you take a loss, your brain will subconsciously start finding ways to avoid taking losses. It will make you miss entries because you're scared. It will make you hesitate. It will make you hold on to bad positions. You have to trick your brain by attaching a physical, tangible reward to the act of disciplined losing. You have to associate the pain of the market taking your money with a secondary pleasure of you treating yourself for following the rules. This is the neuro-hack that no one talks about. Most people think discipline is about willpower. It isn't. Willpower is a finite resource. It runs out at the end of a long day. If you're relying on willpower to not move your stop loss, you've already lost. You need to rely on conditioning. You need to turn your discipline into a ritual. Let's break down the execution scorecard. This is the only document that should matter in your trading room. Your profit and loss statement is a lagging indicator. It tells you what happened in the past. Your execution scorecard tells you who you are becoming. For every trade you take, I want you to ignore the dollar amount and grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 based on 4 criteria. First, did you wait for your specific edge or did you enter out of boredom or FOMO? Second, did you risk the exact amount your plan dictates, or did you size up because you felt lucky? Third, did you leave your stop loss exactly where it was supposed to be, or did you fiddle with it? Fourth, did you exit at your target or based on an emotional whim? If you get a 10 out of 10 on that scorecard but you lost $5,000, you are a winner. You should feel a sense of intense pride. You should reward yourself. You should go tell someone who understands trading, I just took a perfect loss today. If you get a 2 out of 10 on that scorecard but you made $10,000, you are a loser. You have failed. You are in a state of crisis. That money you made is toxic. It is poison. It is a siren song leading you toward a cliff. You should punish yourself for that win. No, I don't mean physical harm. I mean you should deny yourself the things you enjoy. No gym, no favorite TV show, and no dessert. You need to teach your brain that luck is a threat to your survival. The market is a giant machine designed to find the flaws in your character and exploit them for profit. If you are greedy, it will give you a little taste of winning so you'll bet the house and then take it all away. If you are fearful, it will shake you out of positions right before they moon. If you are arrogant, it will humble you in the most painful way possible. The only way to win is to become a person who cannot be manipulated. And a person who cannot be manipulated is someone who doesn't care about the outcome of the next trade. Most traders are living trade to trade. Their entire emotional state is tied to the flickering of a candle on a screen. If the candle is green, they are a king. If the candle is red, they are a failure. This is a miserable way to live, and it's a guaranteed way to fail. You have to zoom out. You have to realize that over 1,000 trades, the outcome of any single trade is mathematically irrelevant. It's noise. It's a coin flip. The only thing that matters is the consistency of your behavior. Imagine you owned a casino. Do you think the casino owner gets upset when a player hits a jackpot at the blackjack table? Of course not. They probably offer the player a free room and a bottle of champagne. Why? Because the owner knows that as long as the player keeps playing, the math of the house edge will eventually take all that money back and more. The casino owner celebrates the loss of the jackpot because it keeps the process moving. They are focused on the thousands of hands being played, not the one guy who got lucky. You need to become the casino owner of your own trading. Your strategy is your house edge. Your discipline is your security team that makes sure no one cheats. When you take a loss, that's just you paying a winner at your table. It's the cost of doing business. It's a sign that your casino is open and functioning correctly. If you can't pay the winner, if you can't take the loss, your casino closes down. You're out of business. This shift in perspective takes time. You've been conditioned for 20, 30, or 40 years to think that money equals success. It doesn't. In the context of the markets, money is just the fuel. Discipline is the engine. You can have a tank full of fuel, but if your engine is broken, you aren't going anywhere. You'll just sit there until the fuel evaporates. But if you have a powerful, finely tuned engine, you can start with just a gallon of gas and eventually drive across the country. I want you to commit to a 90-day experiment. For 90 days, I want you to completely ignore your account balance. In fact, if your platform allows it, hide the P&L. Don't look at the total at the end of the day. Instead, focus entirely on your perfect execution streak. Your goal is to see how many days in a row you can go without breaking a single rule. When you hit a stop loss, I want you to have a pre-planned victory ritual. Maybe it's a specific song you play. Maybe it's a specific snack you eat. Maybe it's just standing up and taking a deep, satisfied breath. You are reinforcing the neural pathway that says, I am in control of my emotions. You are building a discipline muscle. At first it will feel fake. You'll feel like you're lying to yourself. You'll take a loss, do your ritual, and deep down you'll still feel that sting. That's okay. That's just your old software trying to reboot. Keep doing the ritual anyway. Force the association. Eventually, something magical happens. Around day 40 or 50, you'll be in a trade that is moving toward your stop loss, and instead of feeling that familiar panic, you'll feel a sense of calm anticipation. You'll think, I'm about to earn my discipline points. The fear disappears because you've changed what you're afraid of. You're no longer afraid of losing money, you're afraid of breaking your streak of perfect execution. You have successfully weaponized your own ego to work for you instead of against you. When you reach this state, you become dangerous to the market. You stop revenge trading because there's nothing to get revenge for. You followed your plan, so you already won. You stop overtrading because you don't need the dopamine hit of a win to feel good about yourself. You stop jumping into almost setups because an almost setup is a guaranteed way to lower your execution score. You become a silent, stoic operator. People will ask you, how was your trading day? And you'll say, it was perfect. They'll assume you made a fortune. You might have lost $3,000. But you know that perfect has nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with the fact that you didn't let the market break you. Let's talk about the ghost of the trade. Every time you break a rule, every time you hold a loser too long or cut a winner too short, you leave a ghost in your mind. That ghost haunts your next trade. If you just held a massive loser and finally closed it out of sheer terror, you are going to be hyper cautious on your next trade. You'll probably skip a perfectly good setup because you're still feeling the pain of the last one. Or you'll try to make it back by doubling your position size on a mediocre trade. This is how the death spiral begins. One emotional trade leads to another and another until you blow up. By celebrating the disciplined loss, you exorcise the ghost immediately. When you take the stop loss exactly where you said you would, you close the chapter. There is no lingering trauma. There is no emotional debt. You are free to look at the next setup with fresh, unbiased eyes. This emotional reset is the secret weapon of the world's greatest traders. They can lose $1 million at 10 a.m. and be perfectly calm and ready to take a new signal at 10:05 a.m. They aren't robots. They just have a better reward system than you do. The path to legendary wealth in the markets is paved with thousands of small disciplined losses. It is not paved with home runs. The home run traders, the ones who turn $1,000 into $1 million in a week, always, without exception, give it all back. They are the shooting stars of the trading world. They burn bright for a second and then they are gone forever, leaving nothing but a trail of smoke and regret. You don't want to be a shooting star. You want to be a sun. Constant, steady, reliable, burning for billions of years because your internal process is sustainable. You have to realize that society has lied to you about what success looks like. In movies, the successful trader is the guy screaming into a phone, throwing chairs, and making high-stakes gambles. In reality, the successful trader is often the most boring person in the room. They are the person who goes to bed early, eats healthy, and follows their routine with military precision. They don't want excitement. They want expected value. Excitement is for the people who donate their money to the markets. If you find yourself getting a rush from trading, you are doing it wrong. Trading should be as exciting as watching paint dry. If your heart is pounding, your position size is too big. If you can't sleep because you have an open trade, you've stopped being a trader and started being a gambler. The goal is to reach a state of emotional flatness. I want you to look at your trading station right now. Do you have your rules printed out? Are they in your line of sight? If not, why? Would a pilot take off without a checklist? Would a surgeon perform a heart transplant based on a gut feeling? Of course not. So why are you treating your financial future with less respect than a McDonald's employee treats a burger flip? Every burger at McDonald's is made the exact same way. That's why they are a multi-billion-dollar company. They have mastered the process. They don't care if one specific customer doesn't like the burger. They just keep following the process. You need to franchise your trading. You are the CEO, the manager, and the employee. As the CEO, you design the strategy. As the manager, you monitor the execution. As the employee, you click the buttons. The problem most traders have is that the employee starts trying to do the CEO's job in the middle of a trade. The employee thinks, I know the CEO said to put the stop here, but I think the market is going to turn. That employee needs to be fired. Your only job during market hours is to be a mindless executor of the CEO's plan. The reward system we are discussing is how you keep that employee in line. You pay the employee with celebrations for following the rules, and you dock their pay with punishments for breaking them. Let's dive deeper into the rewards. They need to be real. A mental pat on the back is not enough to rewire a brain that has been evolved for survival over millions of years. If you follow your plan and lose money, you need to give yourself something that triggers a real dopamine release. Go buy that video game you've been wanting. Go get a 90-minute deep tissue massage. Go take a day off and go hiking in your favorite spot. Make your brain realize that discipline equals luxury. And the punishments need to be real too. If you win a trade but you broke your rules, let's say you revenge traded your way back to green, you need to feel the consequences. You should be disgusted with yourself. That money you made is dirty money. It's like stealing from a blind man. You might have more cash in your pocket, but you've lost your soul. You should give that profit away to charity, or at the very least, you should ban yourself from trading for 48 hours. You need to teach your brain that rule breaking equals isolation and deprivation. Most people will watch this and think it's too much work. They'll say, I just want to learn how to read a chart. And those people will continue to be the liquidity that the professionals use to get rich. Reading a chart is the easy part. You can teach a 10-year-old how to identify a support and resistance level in 30 minutes. The hard part is the person sitting in the chair. The hard part is the 6 inches between your ears. You are in a competition against the smartest people on the planet. You are competing against AI algorithms that don't have emotions. You are competing against hedge funds with billions of dollars and rooms full of PhDs. You cannot outmath them. You cannot outspeed them. Your only edge is your ability to master your own psychology. It is the ability to do what they can't, to be perfectly disciplined in the face of uncertainty. When you start celebrating your losses, you are stepping out of the matrix of average human behavior. You are becoming something else. You are becoming an elite operator. And the beautiful thing about the markets is that once you solve the psychological puzzle, the money becomes a mathematical certainty. It might not come today. It might not come next week. But it is coming. It has to. Because the market is simply a mechanism for transferring money from the undisciplined to the disciplined. I want you to think about where you want to be in 5 years. Do you want to still be staring at these same charts, feeling the same anxiety, making the same mistakes, and wondering why you can't get ahead? Or do you want to be the person who has mastered the art of the perfect loss? Do you want to be the person with a quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what the market does, you will handle it with grace and discipline? The choice is yours. But the choice doesn't happen once. The choice happens every single morning when you open your laptop. It happens every time a trade goes against you. It happens every time you're tempted to just check your P&L. Start today. Not tomorrow. Today. Find your victory ritual. Create your execution scorecard. And the next time the market takes your money because you followed your rules, I want you to walk away from that screen with a smile on your face. I want you to realize that you just won the only battle that actually matters. You won the battle against yourself. Trading is a mirror. It shows you exactly who you are. If you don't like what you see, don't try to change the mirror. Change yourself. Change your rewards. Change your definitions of winning and losing. The average person wants to be right. The professional wants to be consistent. The average person fears the loss. The professional embraces the loss as a necessary part of the journey. The average person is a slave to their dopamine. The professional is the master of their neurochemistry. This is the path. It is narrow. It is difficult. It is lonely. But it leads to a level of freedom that most people can't even imagine. Not just financial freedom, but emotional freedom. The freedom from fear. The freedom from greed. The freedom from the need for external validation. When you can lose money and still feel like a champion because you kept your word to yourself, you have achieved a level of power that no market crash can ever take away. You have become UNF*********. So go ahead. Take that loss. Follow that plan. And then go celebrate like you just won the lottery. Because in a way you did. You just discovered the secret that the 95% will never understand. You discovered that the process is the prize. The money is just the score. And as long as you keep your eye on the process, the score will eventually take care of itself. Let's talk about the specific mechanics of the post-trade ritual. This isn't just about eating a nice dinner, it's about a physiological reset. When you take a loss, your body is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol makes you narrow-minded. It makes you aggressive. It makes you prone to making mistakes. If you stay at your desk while your body is full of cortisol, you are a walking disaster. Your victory ritual should involve moving your body. Stand up. Walk away. Do 10 push-ups. Change your physical state. This helps flush the cortisol out of your system and signals to your brain that the threat is over. By combining this physical movement with a tangible reward, you are creating a Pavlovian response. Over time, your brain will start to associate the closing of a losing trade with the upcoming reward. Instead of the closing of the trade being the end of a painful experience, it becomes the beginning of a pleasant one. You are literally rewriting the code of your nervous system. Now let's address the skeptics. There are people listening to this who think, This is just a way to feel good about being a bad trader. If I keep losing money, I won't have any left to celebrate with. If you are losing money consistently despite being perfectly disciplined, then the problem is your strategy. You either don't have an edge or you're trading in a market environment that doesn't suit your edge. But here's the thing. You can't even begin to fix your strategy until you fix your discipline. If your execution is a mess, if you're revenge trading, skipping stops and over-leveraging, it is impossible to know if your strategy actually works. Your data is noisy. You don't know if you lost money because the strategy failed or because you failed. When you become perfectly disciplined, when you achieve execution excellence, your P&L becomes a clean reflection of your strategy's effectiveness. If you follow your rules perfectly for 100 trades and you're still in the red, great. Now you have high-quality data. Now you can go back to the drawing board and tweak your entry criteria or your risk-to-reward ratio. You can solve the math problem because you've already solved the human problem. But as long as the human problem exists, no strategy in the world, not even one used by the most successful hedge fund on earth, will save you. You will find a way to break it. You will find a way to sabotage it. This is why the mindset videos are more important than the technical videos. You can learn smart money concepts or ICT or price action until you're blue in the face, but if you haven't mastered the art of the discipline loss, you are just a more educated gambler. You're just a guy who can explain in great detail why he's currently blowing up his account. I want you to become obsessed with the perfect trade. And I want you to redefine what that means. A perfect trade is not a trade that makes you a lot of money. A perfect trade is a trade where you followed your plan from start to finish, regardless of the outcome. Imagine you are a professional free throw shooter in the NBA. Your job is to have the exact same form every single time. You bend your knees the same way. You hold the ball the same way. You release it at the same point. If you do everything perfectly and the ball rattles off the rim, was it a bad shot? No. It was a perfect shot that didn't go in. If you close your eyes, throw the ball underhanded, and it somehow goes through the hoop, was it a good shot? No. It was a terrible shot that happened to go in. If you want to play in the NBA, you focus on the form. You don't focus on the result of one single shot. You know that if your form is perfect, the percentages will work themselves out over the course of a season. Trading is exactly the same. Your form is your execution scorecard. The basket is your profit. Sometimes you do everything right and the ball doesn't go in. That's trading. That's the variance. That's the randomness of the market. Your job, your only job, is to be the person with the best form in the world. Think about the sheer relief that comes with this mindset. You no longer have to predict the future. You no longer have to be right. You no longer have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders every time you click buy. All you have to do is follow the instructions you wrote for yourself. You just have to be a good employee. The trade works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. You're getting your discipline points either way. You're moving closer to your goal of 100 perfect trades either way. This is how you eliminate trading anxiety. Anxiety comes from a lack of control. You can't control what the market does. You can't control what the Fed says. You can't control what some CEO tweets at 2 a.m. If your happiness is tied to those things, you will always be anxious. But you can control your own actions. You can control your entry. You can control your exit. You can control your risk. When you shift your focus to the things you can control, the anxiety evaporates. It is replaced by a sense of calm, purposeful action. You become a market stoic. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In trading, the impediment is the loss. The loss is what stands in the way of your profit. But when you embrace the loss, when you make the discipline loss the way to your success, you become unstoppable. The very thing that destroys other traders becomes the fuel for your growth. Every discipline loss is a brick in the fortress of your character. And once that fortress is built, you can withstand any market storm. I've seen traders turn their entire careers around in a matter of weeks by adopting this one simple shift. They went from being stressed out, erratic, and unprofitable to being calm, consistent, and wealthy. And it wasn't because they found a new indicator. It was because they started rewarding themselves for being losers. They started taking themselves to dinner after a red day. They started bragging to their friends about how they took a stop loss without hesitating. They started valuing their discipline more than their dollars. And the funny thing is, as soon as they stopped needing the money, as soon as they stopped chasing the win, the money started chasing them. The market sensed their lack of desperation and started rewarding them. Desperation has a scent. and the market is a shark. If you are desperate for a win, the market will smell it and it will tear you apart. But if you are indifferent, if you are truly deeply okay with whatever the market decides to do, the market doesn't know what to do with you. You've taken away its power. You have to be willing to walk away. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to look like a loser to the outside world. Your friends might see you take a loss and say, "Man, that sucks. You lost money." And you'll just smile and say, "Actually, I had a great day. I followed my plan perfectly." They won't understand. They can't understand. They are still stuck in the average human mindset. They are still slaves to the outcome. But you are a master of the process. And in the end, the master of the process always ends up with the money. So, as we wrap this up, I want to give you one final image to carry with you. I want you to imagine two paths. Path A is the path you've been on. It's a path of constant emotional turmoil. It's a path of hope and fear. It's a path where you're always chasing the next big win to make up for the last big loss. It's a path that leads to burnout, frustration, and a bank account that never quite grows. Path B is the path of the disciplined loser. It's a path of calm, methodical execution. It's a path where you celebrate your rules and ignore your P&L. It's a path where you treat yourself for being disciplined and punish yourself for being lucky. It's a path that starts slow, but eventually turns into an unstoppable mountain of wealth and confidence. Which path are you going to choose tomorrow morning? The market is opening soon. The candles will start flickering. The dopamine will start calling your name. Will you be a junkie? Or will you be a professional? Will you chase the win? Or will you celebrate the process? The steak dinner is waiting for you. All you have to do is have the courage to lose the right way. This is the secret. This is the way. Now go out there and be the best loser the market has ever seen. Because that is the only way you will ever become a true winner. The philosophy of celebrating losses isn't just about trading, it's about life. In any high-stakes endeavor, the people who win are the ones who can handle the boring and painful parts with the most discipline. A world-class athlete doesn't just celebrate the gold medal. They celebrate the 4 a.m. workout. They celebrate the strict diet. They celebrate the grueling recovery sessions. They have learned to attach pleasure to the grind, because they know the grind is what produces the medal. Your grind is the discipline loss. It is the boring hours of waiting for a setup. It is the repetitive task of journaling. It is the uncomfortable act of admitting you were wrong and hitting the exit button. If you only celebrate the medal, the winning trade, you will never have the stamina to survive the grind. You will give up when things get tough. You will look for shortcuts. And in trading, shortcuts lead to the poorhouse. You have to fall in love with the work. And the work of trading is the management of yourself. Think about the most successful person you know. Do they focus on the money, or do they focus on being the best at what they do? If you focus on the money, you are focusing on something you can't control. If you focus on being the most disciplined trader in the room, you are focusing on something you can control. One leads to frustration. The other leads to mastery. The money is just a byproduct of mastery. It is a side effect. It is the applause for a performance well played. Don't trade for the applause. Trade for the performance. When you sit down at your desk tomorrow, I want you to say to yourself, "My goal today is not to make money. My goal today is to execute my plan perfectly. If I do that, I have already won." And if the market takes your money, if you end the day in the red, stand up, smile, and go get that steak. Because you, my friend, are one step closer to greatness. You have done the hard thing. You have mastered yourself. And that is the greatest victory of all. As you move forward, remember that this is a journey of 1,000 steps. You will stumble. You will have days where you break your rules. You will have days where you let your emotions get the better of you. When that happens, don't beat yourself up. That just adds more pain to the system and makes it more likely you'll fail again. Instead, simply acknowledge it. Admit you were an undisciplined employee for a moment. Take your punishment. And then get back on the path. The path is always there. The perfect execution scorecard is always waiting for a new entry. Every single trade is a new opportunity to be a professional. Every single moment is a new opportunity to choose path B. You are the architect of your own brain. You are the programmer of your own software. Start writing better code. Start rewarding better behavior. The market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your bills. It only cares about the rules of the game. Learn the rules, master the game, and then change the way you celebrate. The world of elite trading is waiting for you. But it won't let you in until you've paid your dues in discipline. Are you ready to pay? Are you ready to be a professional loser? If you are, then I'll see you at the top. And I'll bring the steak.